Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk think show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One, and tonight we're going to talk about the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments that have been given to the so called African American, the so called Black, the so called people who don't look as themselves as gods, who look at other people as gods. If you can hear the people who are listening, if you guys can hear what I'm saying, I would and I would beg for you to press one to let me know that you can hear me, because one of the things that in this mind fuck that we have been going through, we have been trained not to understand each other, or we can't get on the same page. But we can get on the same page as Russians. We can get on the same page as Asians. We don't have no problem understanding what other people say to us. But we have a fucking hell of a problem understanding each other. And it's just simple stuff that we do. Simplicity. Everything that I say and bring to you, it's simple. I mean, it's so simple that a baby can understand it sucking on sucking on a bottle. But when it's time for us to communicate with each other, when it's time for us to understand what each other is saying, we can't get it. And this is one of the problems that we're going to have to go through, because I hope you guys all understand. Those of you who know, this is not for people who think they're African. This is not for people who think they're Hebrews. This is not for people who think they're Moors. This is not for them. The people who mothers and grandmothers and their fathers' mothers and grandmothers come from America, this is for you. Now I know many of you will be like, "Fuck, nigga, we are the world. Why we can't?" You see them people in the Sentinel Islands? You think they thinking about your monkey ass? No, they're thinking about keeping themselves alive so their children will have a place on the world. Guess what the African American does? See, the African American doesn't mind giving away his inheritance to other people. They don't mind that. Matter of fact, they will scratch your eyeballs out if you say don't do that. See, this is what John Henry Clark was teaching you. John Henry Clark was teaching you that you are African, that you came from another part of the world, and you believe it. Any of you who are listening to now still believe it. So all these people who are running over here to get your inheritance, your motherfucking ass believe it. You with it. You don't care. Your motherfucking ass gonna pay for that. All out of all the places in the world, all this big beautiful planet that we live on, everybody is running to jump on top of your ass and take your shit. And you, the African American, gladly gives it away. You don't mind. You don't care. You can do whatever you want to do because you grown. You niggas gonna pay for that. Because too many of your children are dying in the street. You just heard about the brother down in Alabama. I know you don't care. That's what I do. I can do that. If you listen to the African Americans speak, you want to vomit. This is that, and these are not the African Americans who got tattoos all over their face, who running all over the place acting stupid. These are the so-called scholars, the one you niggas name scholars, the ones who go to school to become the dumbest motherfuckers that the world have ever seen. And Please, please, those of you who want to back up who what I'm thinking, saying is wrong, we are being wiped off this motherfucking planet. And all you niggas know it. All of you know it. All of you know it. But instead of standing up for yourselves, you turn bitch and you go ahead and support the people who dog your ass out. You're going to pay for that. Those of you, I would simply say, women, females are the ones who give birth to us all. None of us feet would touch the ground unless we came through our mothers. That's why the sisters over in America are dogged out now. And I know some of you, you listen to rap music, you listen to that dumb shit. Some in the rap music, they have taught that you dog out your mamas. You dog out your sisters. You dog out your aunties. You dog out your neighbors. You dog out your friends. That's what we have been taught. And I know many of you, that's all you know, and that's cool. You keep going that way. And you motherfuckers that keep pumping these cats up, keep doing it. You just go on, just don't say nothing, because when you come this way, your ass gonna get checked. Okay? Because it's been going on too long. Why do we have strip clubs full of sisters all over this country where other men can come slobber all over your women? Why is that, nigga? Why are you cool with that? And it just showed you how a dumb nigga football player fucking with these white girls, how they do you. You a nigga to them. But you don't get mad at them for calling you that. You will get mad at me. Your ass gonna pay for that. So what I was gonna show you is the 10 Indian commandments. I'm gonna show you that. I lost it because we had to get this feed back up because it wouldn't come up earlier. So I'm gonna try to pull it up and we're gonna go through it. I had a whole bunch of images and stuff to show you to go with that, but we're just gonna go through it. And I hope you. This is for you people who have a who have who have a you can see. And what I mean that you can see is that you can understand what I'm saying. You know, a lot of people, a lot of us don't understand. A lot of us don't understand what's going on. We don't get it. We don't understand it. We don't know. One of the things why we don't know is because we're stuck. We're not a part of the planet. See, most Negroes, they have moved to the cities. Concrete has now become taken the place of earth. You don't believe in what the earth can't talk to you because you're walking on concrete, walking on that in Jordans, in rubber, that cuts you off from the vibration that's going through the planet. Do you understand this? I know many of you don't understand this. You don't get it. It's like fish in the water. When the fish is out of water, he can't be a part of the planet because he's not in his element. So in the natural element, the Negro, the African American, the Black, the Negro, the colored, they're not in their element. They're not in nature. They're put in a box. They're put in concrete, and they have rubber shoes or those stiletto heels that sisters wear walking over this concrete. So they're cut off. They're like a fish out of water. They're not. They're not. Their feet are not on the ground. They're not. They're not connected to the trees. They're not connected to the nature, but among what they're in, because they have been put in these artificial boxes. I hope I'm making this clear. I'm trying to make this as simple as I can. I'm making this as simple. I mean, where a baby who's sucking on the pacifier touch it and be like, oh, that's how it is. But this modern Negro, this modern African American, these people have been dumbed down, I mean, to the nth degree. And it's been many so called scholars, so called African Americans, so called hoteps, so called uh, people who have been trained to teach the Negro that he is something that he's not. We're here to let you know that's not the case. And those of you who can see, and many of you can, I mean, oh man, it I love when I hear people say, "Damn, I just asked my mama who her grandmama was, and she said an Indian woman." And these millennials, we're looking at these millennials wrong because they're telling us things, and we're not listening because of the shit that we've been taught. They're coming up with something different. Because see, I don't know all of you. I don't know many of you. So all I can say is ask your people who you are. Your aunts know who you are. If you're a 20-year-old and you have an aunt, she should know who you are. If she don't, kick her ass out the way and go to another one. Because what grandmothers, and see, we like to put grandmothers on the back burner. This is the main thing that dumb niggas like to do. Act like they grandmothers don't mean nothing. People act like Trump's grandmama means more than they grandmama. Am I lying? No. So we won't even listen to what our grandmother said, not our grandmothers on our mama side, but you have a father. He got a mama. He got a grandmama. Ask her. And so what the people are doing, they're asking both of their grandmamas, and their grandmama say, we ain't got from no goddamn Africa. My grandmama was a fucking Indian. They may get the name wrong because you know that names change over certain years. So some of the people that you know as scholars, they may have called themselves black. Amos Wilson, all he uses black, black, black. Why? As somebody who's trying to learn, you should know that that was the term used back then. What was the term used before that? That's what you should be asking. What was the term used before that? That's what you should be asking. Who are the black people? The black people are the indigenous people. Who are the colored people? Those are the indigenous people who they tried to mix with everybody else. Who is the African American? The African American is the person who came from the black people. They used to be called black people. This shit is simple, but we don't get it. And this is one of the reasons why we suffer, because we don't like to learn. We don't like to know nothing. They give you comedians like said the entertainer, I'm a grown ass man. Nigga, you would be a broke motherfucker if you didn't have that white boy paying you. That's what the Negro is. You're nothing without your master. Amen. Can I get an amen, brother? And you have all these fools, and many of you will go sit and be bored to death tomorrow listening to a motherfucker tell you about some motherfucker named Jesus. But you won't even go look for the religious ideologies that your people set forth for you years ago. You won't even question that. You won't even support the brothers and sisters out there who's trying to bring the information forth to make sure your children get the right. You won't even support them. You will dog them out. You hate your African self. Why is it that the African American always hate the African? Who did the "We Are the World" thing? The African Americans, the Negroes over here. When Africans was getting dogged out for the Nelson Mandela thing in South Africa, who was the first one to run the aid? The Negroes over here. So the next time I hear one of you stupid fucks talk about you didn't hate your African self, come see me. Because you motherfuckers make you make shit too tough. with all this shit going on, with all these foreigners doing, Trump, the Russians is fucking you up in your name, making this shit a mess in your name, and you just, huh? I didn't know. No, you motherfuckers are sickening. You're sickening. And you know better. But still, you go against the commandments, what your people say. If your ass know better, motherfucker, do better. You refuse to do that. You can do what you want. I'm grown. You say that dumb shit. You say that Steve Harvey dumb shit. So this is what I'm gonna say tonight is not for those people. Not at all. Not at all. Because you guys have put us in a bind. And what I mean, you people, I mean these black pastors, these teachers. Let me say something about the teachers because there are some teachers out there. The education system is set up. The way it's set up, it's hard to teach these kids. But some teachers find a way to get the information to the children. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the idiots who make sure the children, you do what you. So when you hear those things about, oh, uh, Marshall Jackson, he got a scholarship to Harvard University, and he's only 13 years old. So all he's gonna do, find out a person who got a Yale scholarship or to one of these big ass skull and bone university and find out what happened to them. One of the people that you can do that with is Martin Luther King Jr. He went to college at 16. I know many Negroes wish they kid can get a college here and go to school with Martin Luther King. Check out what Martin Luther King did. Don't don't get so caught up on a person. Find out from the people who he hung around, the women who he hung around, what kind of person they were. You'll get an excellent view of that person. Find out who the people he went to school with. Find Ask the people who knew him to give you an explanation of the person who you're looking for. Don't let other people come tell you who he is. Find out who the family authorized biographies to be written about their people. See, the African American, this is how the African American gets his information. And let me know if I'm wrong, please. The African American only gets what his boss tells him, right or wrong. It's right. We don't think about it. We don't question each other about it. We don't talk about each other, you know, reality wise about things. We don't look up what other people in the community, people like, let's say, Steve Coakley. Many of you remember that brother, right? This brother starved to death before the black community would even acknowledge him. This is what happens to me. This is what's happening to me. This is what's happening to others. Brothers, this is what's happening to 1,000 Go Ahead. This is what's happening to these brothers that is digging deep, getting into these universities, finding about your history, and you motherfuckers won't even send these niggas $2. This is what the African American does. Stop pretending like you don't do it. And the people who make fucking fools out of you, you send them your whole paycheck. That's what you do, right? This isn't what we're talking about tonight, isn't for you. It just isn't. Because we've gone far long enough where people are seeing now that we are dying, and I mean it's sad. They're selling your arms, legs, head, tongue, ear canals, elbows. That shit, if people are coming, that's the natural resource that other people are coming here for. And your dumb ass just don't know. Cause you grown. You can do what you want to do. You live by your ego. Right? I'm not trying to make fun of the African American. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's my job, along with the rest of the 100 million brothers we got over here, job is to make sure we maintain our place on this planet, to maintain Earth in cosmic alliance, to make sure we keep Earth in cosmic balance. That's the brother's job on this planet, period. Now, I know you don't think that's it. Your job is to go out and get as much pussy as you can. Your job is to go out and pimp hoes, blah, 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 blah. And the rest of you are supposed to back them up and pat them on the back for doing it. You did, like I'm saying, this isn't for you. It's Saturday night. Go do what you do on Saturday night. So, what you see here is the Native American Ten Commandments. And remember, this is how people use this is how people use words to get into your culture. Remember, native doesn't mean indigenous here. Native simply means born here. I'll say it again. Native simply means born here. Native simply means born here. It's five. I just spoke 5 words. So, where can I get, where's the scholarship on that? I'll give you the scholarship on that. And it's very simple. Before we all went to school, we went to a place called Sunday school. When we were in Sunday school, around this time, we were taught about this dude named Jesus being uh being born in something called the nativity scene. Nativity scene. He wasn't, he was native to where? Bethlehem. He was native slash born in Bethlehem. He wasn't indigenous to Bethlehem. He was just born there. Is that simple enough to understand? I mean, is that simple enough to understand? Wherever he was from, I don't really know because that's not my bag. This is just some shit that I was taught. And when I questioned it, my mother slapped me in the head and say, just get the lesson right. And it never made sense to me. And I was a 5-year-old kid. I was a 5-year-old kid. So this normally what happens to our children. We go to school and they teaching us some dumb shit. And if you went to school, you know what I'm talking about. So I would question it. And being that the teacher could never answer my questions, they would call my mother and tell them that I'm acting up in class. It's not that I'm acting up. I'm just questioning this motherfucker telling me this dumb shit and they can't answer me. But my mother, in her whatever, wherever she was, sided with the teacher against me. That's what happens to us in these schools. And you can pretend like you don't do it, you do. So when we're questioning what's happening, we're never, ever, ever, we're never given the benefit of the doubt. So that's why you have many people growing up, they like, God damn, we can't do no more because you don't support, we damn. And you don't do that because you want to get into the job, you want to get into their schools, you want to get into fraternities, you want to get into their sororities. This is what y'all have been doing all these years, messing it up for your youth, messing it up for you if you happen to come this way again. So there are things that the indigenous people did here. They had a code. They had a way of doing things to keep everything in sync with what they did. Because You're here on this planet. This planet gives you water. This planet gives you clothes. This planet gives you food. This planet gives you everything you need here. If you work with it, it'll take care of you, right? So we haven't been doing that. We've been living by what other people say. That's what the African American does. He doesn't live by where he is, what his mother said. And the mother is the mother. That's why I call it Mother Earth. And that's why you call your mother mother, because the earth and the females, they have certain qualities that they share that makes them say, oh, so when you say, what does our mother do? Our mothers feeds us. Doesn't the earth feed us? Our mother makes sure we're clean. Doesn't the earth make sure that you breathe clean air? Doesn't the earth make sure that you have a place to stay? Doesn't our mothers do that? But what do we do to our mothers? We call them bitches, hoes. I don't love them hoes. And it's not just the males too, because women will bop their head and clap their ass to it. Right? Amen. Tee motherfucker. So this is the coon shit that we've been doing all these years and wonder why things don't go right for us. So there are commandments. There's things that we do in accordance with the earth, that if we do these things, the earth will do things for us to take care of us, and we'll live in harmony with the earth. These are the things that we're to do, but we don't do them because we listen to what other people from other places tell us to do, which they were kicked out of their places where they lived. But now they come over here and tell you what to do, and your so-called scholars teach teach the dummies that go to school with them, and they in turn teach you to mess up the whole game plan. And that's where we're at now. So that's why here at African Americans, we try to give you information. That's why we say ask the people in your family. They know you better than we do. They'll tell you. So what we're going to do, we're going to go with these commandments indigenous people have set forth, and see how we've been following in them, and see if these are what we have been taught in the 10 commandments that we've gotten from the other people. Because I know it's Christmas time and they're going to show y'all a movie called The 10 Commandments. And Negroes, especially the dumb ones, because trust me, there's nothing like a dumb nigga. Next week, we're going to do a piece on the movie called Soldier Story. And we're going to show you how that movie Soldier Story, how that dips into what the so-called African American, where they are at now. You can't miss it. So here's the indigenous commandments that we're just going to ask a couple of questions and move on to the next one. We're not going to be long-winded. We're just going to show you this. And like I say, those of you who are Hebrew Israelites, those of you who are Moors, those of you who are ancient Egyptians, if you're ancient Egyptians, you have to ask yourself, when you look at all the pictures in Egypt, all the art in Egypt, and there was a lush, fertile society, how did it end up being a desert if these people were so intelligent, if these people were so smart, like you say they were? How did it end up being a desert? Please give that information to us so we'll know, understand that the shit you talking is stupid. So here are the indigenous commandments, and we'll get deeper into them as we talking about them. Commandment number 1: the earth is our mother. Care for her. So I'll give my commentary on it. Then you can go off and think about some things that you were given, because you were all giving these commandments. Don't act like you wasn't, but somebody came and told you you was a jigaboo and you start believing that. The earth is our mother, care for her. Brothers, those of you who have sisters, what is the first thing that your mama told you to do with your sister? Look out for her. Amen. Tee hee. Look out for her. What you were given that information. What you probably couldn't you probably wasn't even walking when mama told you that. Care for your mother. Why? So if you care for your mother will have enough to care for everything else she has to care for. You don't tell your mother and other people's mother, fuck them hoes. I don't have no love for them hoes. Fuck that bitch. Because if you do that, you will suffer. And haven't your black ass been suffering? And when I say black, I mean dead. I don't mean the actual color black, because the people who call themselves black, as you notice, they're not the color black. You have never seen a person the color black, yet you use that term against yourself. That's where you are. That's what your scholars teach you. And you support them and you polish their toenails. You do all that dumb shit. The earth is our mother. Care for her. Do you think the Gulf Coast is cared for when a company can come from England and blow up all kind of oil, get into the Gulf of Mexico, and the fish, our food source, is in there? Are we caring for our mother? Well, you brothers don't even say nothing about it. Brothers keep they trap shut. And these are the brothers that you pat on the head and love. You're going to pay for that. Number two, honor all your relations. So we're moving into 2019, and the so-called African American, many of them don't even know who their people are. They have left South Carolina. They have left Washington, D.C. They have left North Carolina. They've left Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, and are scattered all over the place. And they don't even know who they people are because they simply don't give a damn. Right? Amen. Amen, brother. See, don't get mad at me because I'm bringing this up now. This is what you've been doing for the past 50, 60, 70, 80 years. To go be a slave for other people in your land, to go give your hard earned work to be a slave for other people in your land so they can build your empire, so they can build their empire on your land. And when your monkey ass die out, they bury you and your children have no place to live. And you think that's cool. We'll see. Open your heart and soul to the Great Spirit. Have we been opening our heart and soul to the Great Spirit, or we been opening our heart to Jesus? And all you have to do is ask yourself, where has that gotten us? Where has worshiping of God, that ever since you got that book, what they call it, basic instructions before leaving earth, ever since you had that book in your hand, what has been your position on this planet? Don't lie. Be honest. Only in being honest will you change. Only in being honest will you pick up something and learn something new. If you keep lying to yourself, you'll keep being in the same position you've been in. All life is sacred. Treat all beings with respect. You walk in the average so-called African American house, you'll see black flag. But what does black flag mean? Black flag means I'm going to kill whatever rodent is in my house. Yet these idiots call themselves black. Yet women seek to have babies with men who call themselves black and wonder why their children act like they act. This is where these stupid fuckers are at today. Why you call me stupid? What would you call? What you want to call? You want us to call you intelligent? This stuff is babies. I'm seriously. I have 5 and 6 years old understanding what I'm saying. When I talk to brothers who are 50 and 60 and 70 years old, they mad because I'm saying what I'm saying. Somebody please tell me why that is possible. Anywhere you go on the planet, all these animals, you didn't put them here. All these insects, all these little mammals, they are here for us to learn from. Why? Because they are closer to nature than we are. We're supposed to learn from them. We don't learn from them. We kill them. And when they're killed, we cool. We're cool. We don't look and see what rabbits do. We don't look and see what ants do. We don't look and try to understand what squirrels do. Huh? They're 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 parts of life that we're supposed to learn from. We don't learn from them. We think we can kill them and stomp them to death and do whatever we want to. You niggas gonna pay for that. Take from the earth what is needed and nothing more. Do we do that? No, no, the so-called African American doesn't do that. The African American lets other people come take from his shit. He don't say nothing. You can do what you want to, boss. He don't have nothing to say. So let me give you an example of how that has damaged the so-called African American. So there's a story out, if you go back and look into the books, that when the European got here, it was said that there were so many trees here that a squirrel could walk from Florida to Canada without ever touching the ground. That's how many trees were here. This is how many trees they chopped down to build up the cities and to send back home and have you over here like, I'm an African. I don't know what happened to her. I was an African. This is what the so-called Negro is done. This is what the so-called African American is taught his children and the females. And so what I'm saying, that we have to respect the females, but in turn, the females also have to respect what she has done and what she is capable of and what she has produced on this planet. The so-called African American female hasn't done that. The African American female has, her job is to get with the Harvey Weinsteins. Hey man, ain't that what Oprah Winfrey do? And you know, many of y'all look at Oprah Winfrey like she's your mama. This is what we do. Stop pretending what you do, because it is. And if I can see it, do not think that the Great Spirit can't see it. To see, y'all been playing. Do what needs to be done for the good, for the all. Do what needs to be done for the good of the all. If you know that if you can't put your mouth on a tailpipe and I turn the car keys and what comes out that tailpipe goes into your lungs, if you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be willing to let all these tailpipes shoot that soot into the atmosphere to kill all our trees, right? Nobody, I didn't know that. You never know nothing. because you're not connected to the mother. There's millions of ways you can transport yourself around the planet. All you have to do is think about it. But since the African American doesn't think, the African American doesn't believe in thinking, the African American only does what he is taught. Never forget that. The African American only does what he is taught. Give constant thanks to the Great Spirit for each new day. Every day you have the ability to create transportation out of clean air. You won't do that. You really think that the Wright brothers came over here and invented an airplane? This is what I mean about the Negro. He doesn't think. He thinks that people getting kicked out of Europe came over here and started inventing all these things. No, stupid. They just took what you've already started and taken over it. And since you wanted to praise his Jesus, since you wanted his women, since you wanted to help him conquer your homeland, he just took over everything that you've done. The average Negro doesn't understand this. And I know many of you, that's all you follow is the average nigga, don't you? Say it. That's what you do. Be honest. Once you be honest, you can say, oops, I was making a mistake. I don't want to do that mistake again, and I want to change. That's the only thing that'll happen. You don't do that. You will keep fighting it. And no, that ain't, you don't, how you know, nigga? Because you ain't went nowhere to no other people's country and invented nothing. I mean, that's as simple as I can get, brother. Speak the truth, but only of the good in others. So this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to give you it's simple. Damn. Here you have a continent over here called North America that the whole world is running to. Remember the history you have. I mean, I know niggas that can tell you more about what went on in Europe than what's going on here. Think about that. Brothers over here know more about what's going on about 5,000 miles away than they know what's going on here. That's where brothers at. We know more about over here than we know about what our parents have left for us. You're going to pay for that, or you're paying for it now. Follow the rhythms of nature. Rise and retire with the sun. Let me say this again. Follow the rhythms of nature. Nature is that thing where when the wind blows, you can feel it blowing some of the dust off of you. When you're in the water, you can feel the water charging you up. See, we're not into that. We don't know nothing about that. We know nothing about nature. We're cut off from nature. We don't feel it. We have nothing to do with nature. We say fuck nature, don't we? Yeah, we do. We scared of nature. We won't go out. We won't go out in the forest at night. We want to be in the movies. We'd rather be in the movies where somebody can walk in with a submachine gun and blow your ass away. That's what we comfortable with. You stay there. Follow the rhythms of nature. Rise and retire with the sun. Do we retire with the sun? No. Niggas sleep till noon and be proud of it and be married and have women. Do we go to bed when I mean and this and especially in the the matrix that you live in now, imagine if all the Negroes cut off all their lights when the sun went down. What would that do for your bills? I you I why you gotta bring that? You see, the simplest Negro. This is where we are. This is simple stuff. We're not bringing stuff to you that's hard, that you have to mine for information. This is simple stuff. If you went to bed when the sun went down, what would that do for your electricity bill? Everybody knows it would make the bill go down, but I gotta watch whatever they show you on TV. 10. Enjoy life's journey, but leave no tracks. What does that mean? If anybody can give me a true definition of what that means to them, send it to me at indigenous64@gmail.com. Send you a free copy of the ebook, African Americans Ain't Africans. Enjoy life's journey, leave no tracks. What that simply means is go through this life following those 10 commandments. That's all you speak. That's all you do. And then you get the fuck out of here. Because when you die, which there really isn't no death, but when you leave this planet, you may end up, your next breath may end up right back here. Because why? Because the great mother tells us what? What does the story of Anahuia tell us? That all the children come from the earth. That's why you should follow your own spiritual ideology. All the women come out of the, all, I'm sorry, not all the women, all of us come out of the earth here. This is your story. These are the stories that King James didn't write these stories. The children come out of the earth. The earth is connected with mother, mama. I mean, this is simple shit. And we just, I don't know. Madeline tell me, he told me something different. That's how we are. So I just wanted to bring this to you. It's simple. What we do here at African Americans, we try to bring you simple stuff. Ask your parents, ask your grandparents, ask your uncles, ask your aunts. Don't let nobody tell you that those people are stupid. Your grandmother wasn't stupid. She probably lived to be 100 years old, which means she was doing something right. Your grandfather probably lived to be 100 years old, which means he was doing something right. You have uncles and aunts that passed down information that was kicked out of the family tree because you want to listen to Jesus. Amen. So, those are the 10 commandments of the indigenous people of America. That's why the people over here, when these people came over here, they said these people are like, damn, they share everything. That's what they supposed to do. If you growing food, you growing enough, you growing weight enough for you and your family, share it with somebody else because somebody's gonna share what they're growing with you. That way it's an abundance. Everybody has enough. But where you live now, what you have the CEOs taking all the money, not sharing with nobody, and you guys kissing their ass like they some type of god. You motherfuckers gonna pay for that shit. You think Trump, a motherfucker like Trump, is gonna share with you? He's greedy. He's an asshole. And these are the people, and this cat is making laws for your children, and you cool with it. The African Americans cool with it because they play that game called voting, don't you? Yeah, you do. So No, it's Saturday night, and I know Saturday night, the so-called African American, that's your night to get out and let your hair down. You got to go get your boogie on. So I just want to say this. What I've shared tonight with the people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they probably don't get it. They probably gonna go ahead and do their regular jigaboo shit. But the youth, the people that are in their 30s, 20s, teens, this stuff is for you. Because if you won't get to be 50 and 60 years old. Because what you're seeing now is they're getting rid of you. They're using your body parts. They're getting rid of you. They're using your females like Henrietta Lacks, because it's not just Henrietta Lacks that has that ability. And those of you who don't know Henrietta Lacks, study the HeLa cell. Study the HeLa cell. Last time, it take you 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute process. The HeLa cell. All of us have that ability. So check that out. The youth, this is normally for you, because the so-called African American, these monkeys that you have leading you, this is where they have led you. How's it going? Be honest. How's it going? So you're about to see that the so-called civil rights people, they had something that was set up for them. We'll give you jobs, but we can't be sure that your children will have the jobs. And those that have the jobs, they didn't set up anything for their children. That's why you have people from Poland coming over here getting your land. And many of you are cool with it. I mean, if you really, really study the African American, they are really dumb. And I'm not being hard, I'm being reality about it. You guys can be hard to each other. You can see the brother. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of how this is done. There's a brother out there now named Neely Fuller that is teaching uh, a way that we should live life. Matter of fact, you can say it's an updated version of the commandments that I just taught you. And he's selling the book. I will just call it the code because the name is too long for me to understand. Neely Fuller. Check him out. Just imagine if only one of us, each of us, bought one of his books. That would allow him to sit down and do other shit and come up with other things to help us out. We don't do that. We'll go buy a hot dog from Reuben somewhere. We don't support each other. We'll support. And I've had a sister tell me this. I don't have to support you, nigga. I can support whoever I want to support. This is a sister. This with kids. This is what the so-called African American does. So if everybody bought one of that brother's books, do you know what he could do? And Neely Fuller got to be 100 years old by now. So this is what I'm saying. For the millennials, this message is sent out directly to you. Look out for each other. Do not disrespect your women. Do not disrespect the men. Do not dog out the children and put their minds in the hand of other people who will call you nigga on a handshake. That's what we learned about the brother that played for the Kansas City Chiefs messing around with these women. They just want to get into bed with you to get pregnant so they can have a paycheck for the rest of their life. That's how the women do here in America. Don't act like you don't, because you do. So he gonna take this girl up to his room and out and all. And since he wouldn't bite, what was he? A nigga. After that, that's what they think of you, brothers. That's what they think of you, brothers. Stop being stupid and just trying to chase some tail. Don't work. You guys look out for those of you who are understanding what I'm saying, because I realize if it's 100 of you guys listening, 98 of you won't understand what I'm saying. It just won't. And I'm not saying it just to be saying it. I'm saying it because this is what you do. This is what's happening. You don't support each other. There should be no there should be no uh, uh, foreign establishments where you live right now. There should be none. You should boycott those so much that they shut down. You can come in and get it on pennies of the dollars, and everybody creates something. Everybody creates something and start supporting each other. And we start giving. I don't see where there's a problem where we don't come up with our own currency like we once had it. How come you ain't? How come the historically black colleges and universities aren't talking about that? How come we don't have our own currency? And this is what pisses me off about the dumb Negro. You see, everybody follows and does what you do. All these people coming from Africa, they follow you. They take on what you do. They dress like you dress. They get their hair done like you get your hair done. They wear what you wear. They try to talk like you. You don't think if you had your own money, they would want that too? Why isn't this being taught? Why aren't these niggas who call themselves Greeks? Why aren't they teaching that? Well, they can't teach that because they don't teach you that this is your home. They teach you that you're a Greek. How come the Moors aren't teaching this? The Moors, they come from Mauritania. They come from North Africa. They're not going to teach you that this is your land. They're going to teach you that you're from Mauritania. Why is it the Hebrew Israelite, these monkeys that was lost in the desert for 40 years, how did they end up here? They won't even go back home and take their stuff in Palestine. It's to keep you confused and dumb. And they're doing an excellent job of it. They're doing an excellent job of it. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here right now. I'm not, this isn't to make fun of the so-called African American, because the African American makes fun of himself. The world laughs at him. And I know y'all see it. We think it's cool to be stupid. We think it's cool not to know nothing. And we think it's cool that we pass that stupidity down to our children. You're seeing what's happening to you. To the millennials, I suggest that you take another path, because the path that the civil rights all-stars have given you is not the way to go. It hasn't worked for them. You see that, right? With that, I'm going to say good night to everybody. I wish everybody the best. I think the only people on this planet that can make things right are the so-called indigenous people, the people who know, who grandmamas, who grandfathers. If you go back and look at the 1860s and you look at the money back then, especially in the South, if you look at those people and the money, that's you. But they tell you come from a place in Africa. But when you look for information that for the people in Africa, there's no ships that came over here. You can't find there's no slave ships nowhere. But your belief is what they tell you. So I want to thank all the people who have supported African Americans ain't Africans. I want to thank all the people who will support African Americans that ain't Africans in the future. And those of you who don't support us and don't help us out and don't help us spread the word, may you get what's coming to you. Hope all is well. I hope everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Peace.